Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. I'm GetGoodGuy, and today I'm going to give you an overview of what you can expect on Tuesday, December the 4th, 2018 for Battlefield 5. Because that's the day that we all received Tides of War Chapter 1, named Overture, as well as an update. These two elements combined will provide new weapons, a nerf to the KE7, a medic buff, and a fair amount more. This is initial information from DICE, with comprehensive patch notes set to be released on the 3rd, the day before this all drops, and I'll link to the full details for today's information in the description if you want to read it for yourself. Yes, this is a news day. I don't normally do this, but I'm gonna start giving you news for the game, but I'm gonna try and inject some personality rather than just sit and read this out like a lot of other people do. So yeah, let's get on with this. Tides of War Chapter 1 will provide us with at least 3 new weapons, those being the Vickers K, the Selbstlader 1906, and the AGM/42. All of the posts I can find also state "and more," like this mysterious plus more stuff, so we can look forward to some surprises, I hope, or being, massively let down by things that we expected to be better, but we can keep our hopes high for now. But we don't have confirmed details for these 3 weapons so far, but based upon reality, my current assumption is that the Vickers is a support class machine gun of some kind. The Selbstlader 1906 may be similar to Battlefield 1's iteration, which was a self-loading or semi-automatic rifle, depending on how DICE wants to classify it in Battlefield 5, and the AGM/42 looks like a semi-automatic rifle as well. In addition to these weapons, we'll also see the introduction of the practice range, something that for some reason wasn't in the game from the start, vehicle customization, a new map called Panzer Storm, which is a tank-focused map, so I'll hate it, as well as War Story number 4 called The Last Tiger. And now let's get into the update info. Well, revives are being improved, as we'll now have more control over them due to DICE eliminating certain pre-revive delays, making for a faster revive experience. So there'll be less time standing over your ally unable to revive them for some reason, and thus you might avoid having your face caved in. However, they aren't yet going to speed up the actual revive animation, as they want to see how this initial alteration improves things, and they'll continue considering alterations to the overall speed of revives for a future change if necessary. Moving on, DICE are trying to improve medic class balance by buffing SMG's viable range, most specifically for the slower rate of fire SMGs. They're doing this by increasing SMG muzzle velocity and reducing bullet drag for more consistent range combat, plus increasing the 5-hit kill range of SMGs from 25 meters to 30 meters, and improve sustained fire accuracy whilst aimed and stationary. I personally wanted the SMGs to be made more lethal at close quarters as a priority, where they should be dominating, but I guess we'll have to see if these changes create a nice balance, rather than creating some kind of ranged demon that can heal itself and blah 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 blah. Fingers crossed it all works out okay. Now there are other weapon alterations, and I'm not going to just read off of a massive list and stretch this out to 10 plus minutes, unless it does go to 10 minutes, but I don't intend it to. But I will give you an overview of what stands out to me. If you want to see the full list, again the link is in the description. Let's kick this off with the big one. The KE7 is being nerfed. They're increasing its horizontal recoil and completely removing the recoil buffer specialization for it, which reduces vertical recoil, and it instead will receive the quick aim specialization. Combining these two makes for a less stable and laser-like experience when using the KE7, so it'll be more unwieldy and may start to be less stupidly dominant out there on the battlefield. In addition to this, DICE are increasing the 4-hit kill range of all assault rifles, LMGs, MMGs, and SMGs to 10 meters from 9 meters. They're slightly increasing pistol damage drop-off distances. Bolt-action snipers no longer deal reduced damage to limbs, so the minimum damage will never go below 55. I know, 55, right? Wow. We'll see decreased horizontal recoil for the Sten and an increase in the effectiveness of the ported barrel specialization for it, which also makes your weapon recoil less horizontally, so the Sten may end up being quite the monster. We'll have to see. Plus, we have reduced sustained fire accuracy for assault rifles while aimed and moving. So that's the weapon stuff that I see as being most pertinent. Let's now cover 3 small additions not linked to balancing. We'll get an apply to all weapon skins option, so you don't have to go and select the same skin for all components of your weapon anymore, which is great. A little less time spent in the menus, although the menus are still a complete mess, so you'll still be in there a lot of the time. There'll be a fix for the endless end of round issue, which you can currently just get stuck in, and there'll be improvements to the spectator mode for all of you wartime voyeur type people that just like to go and watch others do things. But with that all said, we should probably also cover what we won't be receiving in this update. We will not see dragging down allies in this patch. It's something that's still being worked on, which is a shame because we saw it in the trailers and stuff, but it's still now not in the game at this point, but there's little that we can do about it. We also may not see a fix to the max rank company coin issue. The proposed fix they have for it is server-side and thus doesn't need a client update, which is a bonus, and they'll update us when this does eventually go live. And there will be no alterations to overall TTK or time to kill, aside from individual weapon balance tweaks, which I've already mentioned. DICE are again acknowledging that TTK and TTD, which is time to die, are different, and that a large chunk of the community has stated that they're happy with the current TTK. They say that, and I quote, "TTK and TTD are very closely linked. We're seeing players die too often / too quickly and get frustrated because of it. So we're looking at how we can improve the experience for new players and veterans alike. This may lead to a perceived slower TTK." Now I wanted to point that out because it's both encouraging and slightly confusing at the same time. I personally like that they're taking on board what's being reported and they want to fix the issues. That's great. But the part at the end about a potentially slower perceived TTK really doesn't make much sense to me. What does that mean? A slower perceived TTK without them changing TTK, or with them eventually changing TTK but changing TTD? What does that mean? It's vague and seems to provide leeway for DICE to say these things and then have plausible deniability if something different comes of it. Or they just weren't really sure how to put this because they don't currently have a solution and they're trying to safeguard against all eventualities. Either that or I'm just misunderstanding due to it being unclear. But unfortunately, when I reached out to ask about it on Twitter by directly responding to a post, I received no response. Not from the dev in question nor anybody else. So I, and thus you, are stuck not really knowing what that alludes to. We'll just cross our fingers and hope for the best. But they have said that they're investigating all elements that play into TTD, and they want to propose any TTK model changes to us and involve us in testing experimental changes. What they're currently proposing they may do to test this change is roll out TTK changes to all players at some point, whilst providing a separate playlist with the old / current TTK available if you don't wish to use the experimental TTK at that time. Basically, most of the game will have an experimental TTK when they do this, but you can choose to go into another playlist where you can use the original one. Overall though, this means it doesn't look like there's going to be time to kill or time to die changes in this upcoming update. It's just come around too quickly for them after the release, and they can't seem to find a guaranteed fix for the TTD issue because maybe it's something to do with servers or engine or whatever else. So those one-frame deaths and being taken down around corners will still be a thing for the meantime, unfortunately. Yes, you're just gonna have to deal with it for now. It sucks. They will get to it whenever they can. But with that all covered, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, a like would be appreciated, as would a subscription and turning on notifications. It's very important because YouTube's very broken. And feel free to join the Discord server in the description and my pinned comment to get more involved with the community. Now let's head over to the Board of Awesome for the epic people who support the channel on Patreon. That support helps me do this every single day, so thanks to everybody on here. If you want to join them on the Board of Awesome, the link to the Patreon page is in the description and my pinned comment. And with that all said, I'm GetGoodGuy, and I'll see you next time. Laters.